Welcome to Our Girl Relationships. We talk about the problems people face in their day-to-day lives. Let's start with the video. I was confused about whether I should forgive my stepmom who treated me like crap since the day she came into my dad's life. On one hand, I still remember all the hurt she caused me and the struggles I have to go through because of her. But on another hand, I feel like an a-hole when I see this helpless woman who's begging me to support her. Honestly, it's kind of pathetic to see her in this situation, and I'd like to ask the people of this subreddit if she's really an a-hole who doesn't deserve my sympathy. So I was struggling a lot in high school. Now, my dad used to work a lot and we didn't see each other much. Usually, before he'll return, I'd be off in my room doing my stuff, and even during mornings, he'd leave before I came down. So most of my interaction was with my stepmom, which for some reason hated me. I mean, the feeling was mutual. I wouldn't waste my energy on this person who is here just because of my dad. I especially didn't like the fact that after marrying my dad, she quit her job and my dad had to work extra hard to make sure he provided for all of us. With everything that was going on at home, I started struggling at school too. It was all a nightmare, and my stepmom would find me sometimes having a rage session in my room or just screaming into my pillow to let go of some of the stress. Every time that happened, she'd tell me how pathetic I look and I should just hurry up and grow up. So soon, when I turned 18, she told me that I'm officially an adult and I should start earning my own money and fend for myself. So I already had a part-time job at our local Burger King and earned enough to get me through school, but it was nowhere enough for me to fully support myself. I told her she shouldn't worry for long, as soon as I would leave for college and would only show her my face once a year for holidays. To this, she said, "What's even the point of me getting any more education since I'm just trash and would end up on the street anyway?" That blew my fuse, and I started screaming at her. All my resentment towards her boiled to the surface, and I threw my phone at her. She dodged it, but clearly I pushed her to her limits. She then kicked me out of the house. I was so angry that I didn't even think for a second what was happening and left. After that, it was just a constant struggle. I had to drop that year, and I took 2 different jobs to save up some money. As I was already pretty good at computer technology, I started studying online on how to develop softwares. Eventually, I ended up creating a mod for a PvP game that was bought by the game developers. The money I got from it helped me get into IT school, and I could finally get an official degree. That whole year was a constant struggle of sleepless nights and going hungry on alternate days so I could pay for the internet and other stuff. So now I'm working for an IT company and have a pretty good life. I got in contact with my dad only twice throughout these past years, but we couldn't form a stable relationship. I was still angry at him for bringing that woman into my life and abandoning me. So when I got a call from my dad's number, I was a little confused. I wondered why he'd call me. When I picked it up, it was my stepmom on the other side of the line. She told me that my father had passed away and they are holding the funeral in 3 days. She told me that in his last moments, my father requested her that he wants to see me one last time, but they couldn't reach out to me in time. I never thought I'd feel sad at my dad's passing away, but still, I felt a weird emptiness. I went to his funeral, and after the service was over, his lawyer, who was a close friend of his, pulled me aside and told me to visit his office next morning. I was confused, but still showed up. I found my stepmom already there. That gave me some clue what it was about. When the lawyer said that his will has been legally cleared and that he left all his inheritance to me, I was shocked. Why me? And after all these years? But more than my confusion, my stepmom's reaction was even worse. She said there must be some kind of confusion because he must have left something for his wife. She snatched the papers and double-checked everything herself. Then she just got up and left. Apparently, her anger was too much to put into words. That evening, I received a call from her, and she started telling me how it's my job to look after her now that my father is gone. What? That was my reaction. When I told her I don't want anything to do with her, she proceeded to beg me that I can't leave her alone like this. She hadn't worked a single day after marrying my father and have no assets of her own. She'd starve to death if I took everything away like a greedy person. I reminded her of how she had treated me in my own home. I told her that I still haven't forgotten the worst year of my life, which I had to go through all because of her. I was so pissed that I didn't even hold back at all. I just screamed and screamed at her over the phone. I told her that once she told me I was pathetic and needed to grow up, now it's time for her to stop acting so pathetically and behave like a grown-up. I then hung up the phone and blocked her. After a week, she showed up at my house. I don't know how she found me, but the nerve of her to show here. I didn't want to cause a scene in the building, so I told her to come in and just get this over with quickly. She then just threw herself at me and started apologizing. She repeatedly said she's sorry and that she was too arrogant in the past and she regrets how she treated me. She said I shouldn't be like her and I should take the high road and forgive her. She realizes her mistakes and she'll work every day to make up to me and that I don't abandon her. She said that if I don't support her, she'll starve to death. She tried to look for a job, but no one wants to hire an old woman, and that I'm her only hope. How can anyone be that pathetic? Just go get rid of her. I told her I'll think about her and would call her. I gave her some money to get groceries and told her to go for now. Now that she's gone, I don't know what to do. She left me to die when I was just 18. She kicked me out of my father's house and cut off my support system. Because of her, I had to starve and live like a rat. Do I really want to be responsible for this woman now? Should I just leave her to go through the same things I went through, or would that make me some kind of a-hole like she is? I decided that I didn't really want to do anything with my stepmom, and the best way to get her out of my life and make sure she stays away is to give her allowance to live by. So I called her last night and told her that as long as she agrees to a few of my conditions, I can make a deal with her. I told her I'd send her monthly paychecks that would be more than adequate to take care of her needs, but in exchange, she had to promise not to contact me in any way. As long as she stays away and doesn't call me or show her face to me, I'll keep sending the money. She could also keep living in my dad's house, which is now in my name, and that I don't care what she does there as long as it's not illegal and doesn't get me involved in any of her troubles. She was silent for a long time, but then she finally agreed. She said she'll accept my conditions and won't trouble me for anything as long as she gets the money. We then negotiated an amount that was more than generous in my opinion. Hopefully she won't bother me again. I know many of you guys replied to my original post saying that I should just leave her to her fate and move on with my life, but I didn't see any other way than this. It's been 3 years since my last update. You can read my original post to get an idea of what I'm talking about here. So last week I got a call from an officer that my stepmom was caught with drugs in her possession and was also driving under intoxication. They told me that she's currently at the station under lockup and that she gave them this number to contact. I silently cursed and told them I'll come there to pay the fine and pick her up. It was really late at night, and this was a trouble I really was hoping to avoid. So I thought a night in jail is the least that she deserves for what she did to me. Next morning, I went down there and got her out. I didn't talk to her or ask her what happened. I just dropped her off at the house and came back. I contacted my lawyer to prepare some legal papers, as my deal with my stepmom was that I'll pay her monthly as long as she didn't bother me. It was broken. So I decided that this is it, and I really needed to cut her off. I'm going to transfer the ownership of my dad's house in her name, and she could either sell or rent it out. I don't care. I'll transfer some money to her account, and then I'll cut all ties with her. And this time, if she comes after me or bothers me again, I'll file for a restraining order. This is it. I can't deal with this person from my past, and I need to move on and live my life. NTA, you're not an a-hole if you don't help her out. Karma is a sick thing, and she'll get what she deserves. Leaving a kid all alone, that's the worst kind of sin people can commit. NTA, you should definitely leave her to struggle, just as she understands what it feels like to not have any support or any person to lean on. So many kids struggle because of a-holes like her. I wish your dad didn't just silently watch it all happen and would have divorced her. I, 26 female, have been with Marcus, 30 male, for 4 months. He has an 11-month-old son from his former relationship. I only saw this baby twice because I don't like children, and his mother has already expressed several times that she doesn't feel comfortable with me seeing her baby because she doesn't know me and doesn't trust me. I don't judge her for that. Both times I met him, it was by chance on the street while Marcus and I were together and found the grandmother on the street with the baby. Yes, it was super weird. And before you ask, we don't consider dating, although we are currently exclusive. We're just friends with benefits who are too lazy to meet other people, and we are comfortable with each other. We never sleep at each other's house and only meet in the middle of the week, as he has guard over the baby's weekends. Saturday afternoon, Marcus showed up at home with his son and said he needed help because there was an emergency in the family and he needed to go to the city where they live, and it wouldn't be possible to go with the baby. It's 2 hours away. The mother and maternal grandparents had traveled. He didn't even allow me an answer. He just gave me the baby and the bag with everything and left. I tried calling, texting, but he just told me to suck it up for a few hours and then he would reward me because it was an emergency. I don't know how to take care of babies. I really don't feel comfortable, and he knows that very well. And after several times telling him to come back because I don't want to be responsible for taking care of the baby, he just hung up his cell. I thought about calling the police, but I decided to text the baby's mother, Instagram, telling her the situation. His godmother showed up, not even 10 minutes, to pick him up. At night, Marcus came home yelling that I caused a huge mess since he asked for a favor because of an emergency and I was the only one who accepted, the others couldn't, and that I caused an unnecessary problem with his custody since the mother would file a request for review. Obviously, we're done. I would like an opinion from the outside. Some friends sided with me, others did not. NTA. It was super inappropriate to leave a baby with you without not only your consent, but without the mother's consent. You are not in a relationship and have only been around 4 months. Not to mention the fact that he knows you're not comfortable with babies and didn't know how to care for them. He didn't even ask, basically just threw the kid at you and left. NTA, if the child's godmother was able to pick the child up within 10 minutes, why didn't he just go to her first instead of practically abandoning his child with the person the mother he shares custody with and has specifically said they don't want their child with? No offense to you. And then to refuse to come back and ignore your calls after you made your non-consent to this baby abandonment very clear. He is very much the one in the wrong. My wife, 35, and I, 37, male, have been married for 10 years and have 2 kids, 8 and 5. Last year, my wife was offered a pretty big promotion at her job. It's a huge step up and a big boost to her career goals, but it would require a relocation. After talking it over, we decided that she should take it. We moved about 6 months ago. I was able to get a new job in our new city, but I only get 10 vacation days for the first year. Part of my wife's promotion was that she got a lot more vacation days. She has 5 weeks. She's already used a couple of weeks of her vacation time for trips with her friends or sisters. I've stayed home with the kids while she's on these trips. She also took the kids on the trip while I stayed at home. She still has over 2 weeks of vacation time left. We've started discussing our holiday plans for this coming winter, and she wants to go visit her parents for an extended visit. She wants to take time off around Christmas and New Year's and stay with them for 2 weeks. That's all well and good, but that's pretty much all of my vacation time. I told her that I don't want to use all of my vacation time just to go and see her family. I said I'd be okay with using 5 days or so, but I want to save some time for me to use for things I want to do, like she said. She got upset because she wants us all to be together for the holidays, and since the kids have all that time off school anyway, it makes sense to her that we would stay for a long time. We also haven't seen her parents since we moved, so I get why she wants to stay that long. I've tried offering that she can stay for as long as she wants with the kids and I would head home by myself early, but that wasn't acceptable because she doesn't want to fly with both kids by herself, which I understand, but I'm just trying to compromise. She wants to start booking flights and I'm not willing to use all my vacation time for one trip to see her family. We got into a fight over it because she's not willing to accept my compromises. I finally got mad at her and told her that she got to use as much time as she wanted to do fun things for herself while I watch the kids, and I want to be able to do the same. I told her that it's great that she has so many new benefits from her new job, but I had to start over, and I don't have those same options. She took that as me being resentful for moving, which isn't true. I'm happy she got promoted, and I'm not mad about relocating. But I am upset that she isn't willing to understand that my work circumstances are drastically different from hers now. I'm not willing to budge on this, and she's mad at me that I'm just not simply going along with what she wants to do. I know it's important that she sees her family, but I just want the option to do fun things for myself like she did. She thinks I'm being petty and stubborn because I'm jealous of her promotion. NTA, your children are 8 and 5. There's no reason that she can't travel alone with them. It's ridiculous to expect you to use your limited vacation time to visit your in-laws while your wife is living her best life. It's not about being resentful, it's about not wanting to spend all of your vacation time visiting family. Your wife is being very unreasonable. If she is that opposed to flying with them by herself, would she buy you a round-trip ticket so you could come pick them up? This would still allow you to save a week of your vacation time and plan something fun. NTA, it's unacceptable that she thinks you should use up all your vacation just so she doesn't have to fly with the two kids herself. I can see if they were infants or toddlers, but 5 and 8 is old enough to behave for a flight. I would just again tell her you'd be willing to do a week, period, and leave it at that. Don't debate or get drawn into any long arguments. No. And make sure you see the flights before she books them. NTA, I don't see anything wrong with your compromise, and she's not willing to compromise at all by the sounds of it.